In March of 2025, PlayStation and Santa Monica Studio officially celebrated 20 years of God of War. What the hell? There was a big exhibition and stuff, developer and actor panels, some Ragnarok cosmetics, and of course, merch. Look at this poser. Who's this guy kidding? Does he look like he played God of War Betrayal in his life? I don't think he even looks like a guy who's ever heard of God of War Betrayal in his life. You don't deserve to wear that, but for me, by far the most exciting product to come out of this celebration is the God of War 20th Anniversary Retrospective Book, or 2 books, technically. And here it is, in the flesh. For the record, this is the Deluxe Edition. The regular edition of this is $99 US, but this Deluxe Edition is $199, twice as much. Technically, I bought it for $180 because there was a discount when the pre-orders opened, but as it is, this is $200. That's a lot of money, so on top of doing a review of the book itself, I'd like to evaluate whether it's worth dropping 2 crispy Benjamins for the deluxe edition of this retrospective. And, well, as you can see, the deluxeness starts right away with this cover, I guess you'd call it. This is the front, which represents the Greek saga, of course. Great utilization of the urn from Tyr's Vault. We got the Blades of Exile on full display here, which we actually don't really see in the original because of all the blood. This thing is big, by the way. It's heavy and large, a very striking presence. But if we turn this around, this is the reason why I bought this deluxe edition, to be honest. This is, of course, the image Kratos sees at the end of Ragnarok. This is the path that he follows throughout Valhalla, and as a Norse God of War guy, as a Norse Kratos guy, this particular imagery just means very much to me, and seeing it on this, I pre-ordered my normal edition and ordered this immediately in my anniversary spending frenzy. But overall, yeah, this is very deluxe. It's very, very cool to have both of these images on a physical thing like this. Gold works very well. There's this whole Dark Odyssey theming that Santa Monica went with for the 20th anniversary. I think it looks very good, especially for the Norse one, because the original is gold. And also, fun fact, these 2 images are the exact ones I've been using on my channel banner for literally years now, so it's nice to know that I have some sort of understanding of iconography, I guess. Now, let me emulate the unboxing experience for you here. We got the books, of course. We'll look at those in a second. But the most super deluxe thing about this deluxe edition is this sleeve. Again, the same black and gold Dark Odyssey theming, and inside we got concept art representing the 2 sagas, of course, from the very first God of War, and one from the latest, as of now, Ragnarok. And look, if I'm being entirely honest and a little cynical, did we really need this? I'll be talking about the price at the end, but I can't help but feel like this was included just to pad out the deluxe edition and give us something extra, right? But I also can't help but think about how much money we could have saved. Like, it's very nice, it looks great. I'm really happy to have more God of War artwork, especially the first one, because I don't have a lot of Greek era stuff, you know? But to be entirely honest, I'd rather not have this and pay a little bit less for the whole thing. But that's the deluxe edition, everyone. The books are expectedly also very deluxely blinged out. Compared to the normal regular edition, we have gold galore, and it looks genuinely very fabulous. We obviously got their respective Omegas. The Norse one has the 2018 here, which is interesting because the regular edition is just plain. We got the respective era names in appropriate fonts, and obviously in the respective languages on the bottom here. The frame detailing is also very nice and matches the framing on the box itself, which is cool. The spines are honestly probably my favorite part design-wise. It's just beautiful. The weapons, of course, and the detailing. Overall, the presentation of this deluxe edition is genuinely on point. The regular edition is much more subtle and utilitarian looking. This is deluxe. Studded in gold, everything is 3D, there's like weird cool effects, it shines in the light. In terms of how this entire thing looks, I genuinely have no complaints. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of this whole thing, the thing you're really paying for. the retrospective itself. I've seen a little bit of confusion about what this book is supposed to be, so let me clear this up. Essentially, this book is a series of interviews with over 60 people who worked on these games over the years, looking back at each title and how things were for them and the team at the time. If you're looking for something very deep and technical, this is not it. If you're looking for some tea, some juicy details about what got cut or how the devs iterated on things, this is not it either. There is a little bit of that, but really, this retrospective is effectively entirely about the people who made God of War. I would say this is as much of a retrospective on the history of Santa Monica Studio as much as it is on the history of God of War. Of course, it covers the games, but it just as much covers what the various teams were going through during the development of each title. So if you care about the artistry of these games, if you care about how these people made masterpiece to masterpiece, I think this one is for you. As a whole, I genuinely believe this retrospective is invaluable. Even if you're a casual God of War fan or just someone who played the games and wants to know about how they came to be, or if you literally live and breathe God of War like me, this is the best resource about the creation of these games, period, at the moment. It comes straight from the source. Everyone came back to be interviewed. The breadth of people and departments covered is astonishing. All the game directors are here, the producers, actors, animators, composers, environment and character and concept artists, engineers, combat designers, etc. Literally everyone. Everyone you would want to hear from is here. And it's packaged and sorted out very well and very conveniently. I think Rick Barber did a great job making this wealth of interviews and information palatable. Different people get to shine during different stages of the book, and from a factual standpoint, I don't recall seeing any blatant mistakes. Sometimes an image can be from a different game or from like a comic but refers to a game, but it's like really minor things. There is no misinformation as far as I could see. And I've been showing the books as I ramble, but it looks great. When you just open it, the identity of each saga is immediately there. And regardless of the text, you get to look at God of War artwork all the time. And of course, it's amazing because God of War artwork is fucking amazing. That's really it. So it's great to just look through it. I mean, you're seeing this right now. And it ranges from some of the most famous pieces that still look fantastic to see it on a full page and not compressed 100 times over. It's a pleasure. But also there's some gems that I've personally never seen before, which is fun. But the text itself is structured very well as well. It really brings you on a ride. It really tells the story and the evolution of both the games and the studios. The book, of course, starts with this man, David Jaffe, who's imagination, vision, and direction drove God of War and Kratos to become the phenomenon that it is. It talks about the formation of Santa Monica Studio, which is very exciting for me because it's been a blind spot in my knowledge personally. I got to know about Alan Becker, for example. He's one of the founders. I genuinely knew nothing about him. And the culture that was established at Santa Monica that immediately made it special, even though it was, a high-profile Sony-owned studio. These early pages are also very exciting because we get a glimpse of God of War before God of War, the Dark Odyssey part of God of War 1's development. Like this stuff, for example, which is very fascinating. Sadly, the Greek book doesn't have as much space to show everything because there are 7 games to cover, and at times I just wanted more. When I got to God of War 2, I thought, oh, that's it? I just want more. I know I want to know as much as possible, and sadly that's just not possible. And that's not to say that there isn't enough attention given. Every game in the franchise truly gets all the fanfares it deserves, but it's just a little brisk, and this book is really good at making you engaged in the process of each title, so you're really taken aback at the start when it moves on, but you get adjusted to the pace pretty quickly. And as we go through the titles, the book really focuses on all the changes within the studio, the director transitions, of course, older people moving up, new people coming in, all the unique challenges that each project faced. God of War 3, for example, focuses a lot on the switch to the PS3 and all the challenges, but also improvements that came with it. Ascension, of course, talks about how Todd Papy had to effectively direct 2 games at the same time and manage 2 teams, single player and multiplayer. There's a whole chapter dedicated to the PSP titles, which is very nice. And even Betrayal gets proper attention. All the haters can suck it because Betrayal is officially canon. And all the 13 fans of God of War Betrayal out there, this is your year, truly. They dive a little bit about how the Sony mobile team made that and how much Santa Monica supported them, which is really the through line of this book. I really appreciate that the voices of the people who are being interviewed seem to not have been altered at all, or maybe very little. There's bleeped out swear words, people bring up honest stuff about how hard the work was, all of that. And it doesn't feel like anyone feared corporate censorship or whatever. They obviously don't go that hard on it because it's a licensed Sony product, but the personality of each individual shines through, which is very nice. You really get to connect and kind of get to know everyone just that tiny bit, even though it's just text from interviews. Much like the games themselves, the Norse book expectedly spends much more time on each title because there's only 2. The games themselves are bigger, the amount of time and people who worked on them is bigger and larger, and the sheer volume of work per game is way bigger too. But what's interesting is that at this point, God of War's development is so well documented that there isn't much else that could be added. 2018, ironically, was the most, yep, that's how it was, part of the book, because we have a whole ass documentary about it. The devs have talked very extensively about making it, but of course it's still a joy to go through and re-experience the struggle in a way, especially in the context of diving deep into the Greek games first. However, there's something really cool in the 2018 section that no one has ever seen before. It might be my favorite part of this whole retrospective, honestly. There's a story written by Corey at the very start of development to help the team get a feel for the tone and direction of the game. And it's cool because it's a full story we get to read that was written by Corey, but there is like a bit of a kind of plot twist bombshell, maybe you could say, at the end. I'm not going to spoil what it is, but it kind of shows what Corey's original plan for the game was going to be narratively. And it's just really cool, not only to see a story like this for the first time, but also it's very exciting to get a glimpse at these early versions and how much a story can actually change during development. Because if Corey stuck to this, the Norse saga would have been very, very different. It's just very interesting. Ragnarok definitely has a bit more to tell and show, like how the studio adapted to COVID, which we didn't really get to see before. But by far my biggest gripe with this book happens at the very end. This is all we get for Valhalla, just 2 pages. Betrayal got 8. I understand that the book has to be exactly a certain amount of pages and there's a lot to describe regarding Ragnarok, but it sadly feels like a bit of an afterthought. For a complete compendium of the first 20 years of God of War, I think Valhalla could get a little more attention, especially because it's about this, you know? It's the full circle moment for the series, really, and because how much work went into reshaping Ragnarok into a roguelite or bringing the Greek enemies into this new combat system, I think all of these things should have been addressed here. Sadly, for whatever reason, that wasn't possible, and that's a bit of a bummer, but that's how it is. Overall, my main takeaway from this retrospective, what this book accomplishes the best, is showing why God of War is so good and why it's remained so good for 20 years. And the simple answer is the people. The culture that was established in Santa Monica from the beginning, how much people like Corey or Jaffe or Eric helped Ready at Dawn or the Sony mobile team in making the PSP games to make sure the world and the combat and Kratos are all cohesive and up to par what the mainline games were doing. This book is riddled with people saying how special everyone around them was and how special, however difficult, working on God of War has been for them. I'm obviously extremely biased, and as a creative guy who just wants to make cool shit and impact people in a positive way, these people are my inspiration, really. And to get a glimpse into their minds is, again, invaluable to me. This is a tribute to the people who made God of War as much as it is a tribute to God of War, and that's the perfect perspective to approach this book, in my opinion. Might not be the way you would prefer it, but it is the way I do, personally. But after all this gushing, after all this praising and glazing, it's time to answer the $1 million question, or rather the $200 question. Is this deluxe edition worth $200? The quick and honest answer is no, it isn't. It's not even worth the $180 I paid for it. Because, look, the regular edition, which is just the books, Dark Horse values at $100.99, which means that this is supposed to be $100 as well, and I just don't see it. The sleeve is nice, the concept art is nice, these are going on the wall, but again, was this necessary? And this box, even though it's obviously stunning, this is why I bought this edition in the first place, it is a box. It's a box. It might be in my top 3 boxes of all time, but at the end of the day, it's literally just a fancy box. These two things do not equal an entire 2-part retrospective in value to me. Again, I have genuinely zero complaints about the quality or presentation of this. Everything looks and feels and reads amazing, but I have to point it out when something is overpriced just for the sake of it. That's just how I feel about it. So here is my recommendation. Just get the regular edition. $99 US is a very reasonable price for just the books. The retrospective itself is an amazing thing for any God of War fan to read. If you simply must have the deluxe edition, wait for a sale. The Dark Horse God of War art books are on sale all the time, and I'm sure this one will be the same. If you see this at 25% off or more, grab it, no question. As is, it's too much. Otherwise, this is awesome. My heart sings looking at this. My appreciation and love for this series grew even more after reading this. I don't know how that's even possible. I just felt like playing the games again, all of them. And I hope that you found this review valuable. Thank you for watching, and see you, hopefully less than 2 months from now, next time. Deuces.